Are you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via live stream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome back to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. I'm your host, Andrew Frazier, and excited to be hanging out with you once again on Tuesday evening. As you know, your most important job as an entrepreneur and business owner is sales and marketing, being able to generate revenues for your company. So I always like to have shows where we talk about that topic. But tonight, we're also going to not just talk about sales and marketing, but we're going to talk about using AI to do it more effectively. So, as a small business owner, there's never enough time in the day. And, AI is such a powerful tool that it can help you to significantly increase your productivity. And not just increase the productivity, but increase the quality of your productivity. So, looking forward to having that discussion tonight. Tonight's topic is ChatGPT for small businesses. Sell more, market smarter, and communicate better with Dayn Kirksey. So, very excited to have Dayn as my guest tonight. He's Dr. Kirksey, and he has an expertise in machine learning, in AI, and he's going to share some key things that can be helpful for you to move your business forward faster and easier. Hey, Dayn, how you doing tonight?
Hey, Andrew, I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you?
Excellent. So appreciate you joining us tonight. We just reconnected after many years. So it's great to reconnect with you, and I appreciate you joining tonight on short notice and being flexible. But I think that what we're going to be talking about is extremely valuable, and I'm really looking forward to doing it.
Yes, thank you, Andrew. Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to it as well.
Excellent. So before we get started, we know each other, but the audience doesn't really know you. So if you could take a few minutes and sort of talk a little bit about your journey and how you got to where you are.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, my journey has been a long journey. So I have to pick a particular maybe turning point within my journey that brought me to this specific time and place. And I would say that during my time in the Army, I spent 14 years in the U.S. Army, and about halfway through, I decided to get a PhD, and it was an online PhD, so I could study if I was in the United States or if I was deployed or if I was overseas stationed. And what I recognized in my dissertation topic, which was measuring the impact of IT expenditures based upon AI machine learning applications, that AI machine learning was really impacting businesses' bottom line. And I've always been interested in computers, programming, robotics, but this was an opportunity for me to get back into that engineering and IT, information technologies, computer programming space. And at one point in time, I produced a website and owned my own business. So I was a small business owner. And what I found out at the end of my studies was that IT expenditures at hospitals across the country, over 6,400 hospitals and 400 healthcare systems in the United States, were significantly impacted by investments in IT for AI and machine learning applications to improve their operational bottom line. And so that really intrigued me. And so when I transferred out of the Army, I got my doctorate last year, and I came to DC, and I've been working in the government space, and I've also had a clearance. So I've worked in security. I've continued to work in security and defense industries within the U.S. government, and providing for them consulting for AI, machine learning, and data science. So for the past year also, I've been working as an assistant adjunct professor for the University of Maryland Global Campus, where I teach an introduction to artificial intelligence course to people that were just like me, a lot of active duty soldiers that are taking this online program. All of the courses at UMGC are online. Their family members and also veterans. But UMGC is such an excellent program. People that are not necessarily related to the military are taking courses. And I'm really glad that you invited me to speak tonight, because you reminded me of how many people in my class, whether they're serving active duty or they're retired or they're service member families, they also have small businesses. And that's a primary reason that people are taking these courses, so that they can be at the cutting edge of technology, that they can expedite their workflows, increase their operational efficiencies, boost their revenue, market more efficiently, and optimize communications. And so this is just an excellent opportunity for me to share kind of what I've been teaching my students to a broader audience.
Excellent. So no, this is perfect, because definitely we want to have a chance to share your wealth of expertise. We got to break it down into manageable chunks for us, because you know too much. So we don't want you to lose us, but we'll be sure to do that. And but really looking forward to chatting with you tonight. I'm sure that I'm going to learn a good amount as well as the audience. So really looking forward to that. Before we get started, you shared your profile, background, and we're going to go into quite a few different areas, but we do this show through the Small Business Pro University. It's one of our brain trust initiatives, and I just want to take a minute to share a little bit about what the Small Business Pro University is all about. So right after this short video, I'll be back with Dayn, and we'll be talking small business. Many small businesses experience low or no revenue growth, and the owners are not making enough money. I founded Small Business Pro University to help you break that cycle by empowering you with greater knowledge and enhanced skills to lead your organization more effectively. Over the past 15 years, I've collaborated with organizations like the Small Business Development Center, Rising Tide Capital, Empower the Village, NJMEP, Rutgers University, and SCORE to work one-on-one with over 1,000 business owners and teach tens of thousands of people about business. My experience includes serving as a naval officer, managing businesses, graduating from MIT, earning an MBA from NYU, and achieving the CFA designation, which has prepared me to accomplish my mission of helping 1 million and 8 business owners to sell more, maximize profit, and finance growth by 2028. My vision is to create the ultimate business ecosystem for entrepreneurs. Small Business Pro University empowers entrepreneurs like you to run their businesses more professionally and create sustainable enterprises. We employ my proven proprietary Masterpreneur Playbook framework to guide your journey along the Masterpreneur path and facilitate your Masterpreneur evolution to work on your business and scale faster and easier. Small Business Pro University provides access to valuable resources, partnerships, and relationships that will help you to sell more, maximize profit, and finance growth. Our Masterpreneur initiatives include the Small Business Pro Network, 100+ expert-led multimedia courses, intensive training workshops, Spanish language training, Leadership Live at 8:05 live stream and podcast, in-person Power Breakfast events, and advisory coaching, consulting, and training services. Okay. All right. Welcome back to Leadership Live. I'm here with Dayn Kirksey, talking small business. I always like to start off with definitions just to make sure everybody's on the same page. Everybody's heard the word AI, but I bet most people don't have the same definition of it. So what is your definition of AI so we know sort of where we're coming from tonight?
Okay. AI is short for artificial intelligence, and it is the science of enabling machines to think similarly to human beings in a similar manner as the human brain calculates and reasons, is basically what we enable machines to do in AI.
Excellent. And also you do work with machine learning. How is that different from AI? What is that?
Okay. So machine learning is a subset of AI. So AI is an old science. In fact, it's not old in terms of relative to chemistry and biology and even physics, but it is older than many people think. So it really started about 1950. And Alan Turing, he wrote a landmark paper. And in that paper, his research question was, can machines think? And also about the same time, there were a group of computer scientists that gathered at Dartmouth University. And they had a consortium where they tried to define artificial intelligence more rigorously and tried to apply it. So it wasn't just a conceptual notion, but it was an applied science where they actually tried to create product. And one of the first products created by AI was a chess game and another game that recognized numbers. So you had visual recognition in the early 50s, and you also had cognitive reasoning such that it could play a game like chess. But early forms of AI a lot of them were program based. So you had to actually manually create a program to get the machines to replicate something similar to human thought. And they also were logic based. So they had to follow a linear progression of reasoning. And so it didn't really get very far very fast because of a few things. A lot of expectations were heightened in the 50s when people began to see what computers could do, but they couldn't do a lot. They couldn't play really rigorous checkers games, and they couldn't, though they could recognize a few numbers, they couldn't read a page of text. And then it went out of fashion. You didn't hear about AI in science or in industry or in academia for years. But then it began to come back most recently because of three things, really. Compute power. We have much more powerful computers now than we ever did. We have large language models based upon that compute power because we have more data than we've ever had. So data and compute power and what we call generative AI, which is the ability for computers to utilize deep learning, which is a form of machine learning, but they're layers of neurons in deep learning. Similar to we have neurons in our brain that really just magnify the ability for computers to think. And so with compute power and just more data, just terabytes and gigabytes and just massive amounts of data available to individuals now, let alone large companies. And these really rigorous models that now don't have to work in a linear fashion, but they can see patterns much more like human beings see patterns. We don't always think linear in a linear way. We put things together that form connections that don't progress 1, 2, 3, 4, but it can be 5 different things happening at one time with every sense. Smell, sight, sound. We can put all those senses together to recognize, what is happening. And computers are more and more able to do that. So AI is the kind of the father of the science, and the progeny is machine learning.
Okay, excellent. So, no, that's amazing. It seems like AI just busted on the scene, but it's more than 50, 75 years in the making. So definitely, but it's really usable nowadays, and especially for small business owners that wouldn't have a chance to really even touch any type of tools like this. So it gives us an advantage, but
Yes.
we have to understand it and know how to use it. So we talked earlier about sales and marketing being your most important job as a business owner. So the first thing that would be great is if AI could help you sell and market more effectively, and it can. I think you have 3 real things that we want to cover: selling more, marketing smarter, and communicating better. Do you want to just give us an overview of each of those, and then we'll dig into more detail on each of them?
Yeah. I'd love to, Andrew. So what I propose in this podcast is that small business owners kind of use as an on-ramp to AI the application called ChatGPT. Now, a year ago, a lot of people may not have known what ChatGPT is, and I'm thinking that probably now most people in your audience not only know what is ChatGPT, but use it regularly. But my goal is to help people to utilize it to fully leverage all the capabilities in that application. And to do that, I think one of the greatest skills that a small business owner can have is prompt engineering. And it's the ability to craft the question that you input into that prompt field in such a way that you can really leverage the extreme compute power that is in that tiny little app on your smartphone or on your laptop or on your computer. And people don't often recognize, but these applications are built on what's called foundation models. And foundation models are large language models that are trained on trillions of parameters of data. And so what you would have 10 years ago needed to go to the library, you would have had to have a team of researchers. You would have had to maybe, license corporations or small companies to do maybe market research for you. You now have all of that data that researchers have been doing for 10 years, that market research corporations have been doing for 10 years, that academicians, people in large research universities have been conducting for 10 years, white papers, and just an incredible, deep, rich treasure trove of just all types of data that you would ever want on market research. But you need to know how to craft your prompt to get that information. So I would say with marketing, that's one way you could, just leverage that power behind ChatGPT. Revenue, again, they have so much information on monetizing ideas, monetizing products, and monetizing really innovation. So, it will give you ideas that you would not have had before and help you to really reach out to the people that can get you the revenue, the revenue streams that you didn't maybe know existed. So marketing, revenue, and then communication. The most powerful tool to improve communication right now is our large language models. And that's why every industry is fighting right now, tooth and nail, really, to get the most talented people to work for them, to help them leverage large language models. So large language models are the basis on which these GPTs are created. So ChatGPT is the one we're using, the one that's most well known, but it's owned by a company called OpenAI. And what's interesting is that OpenAI is now part of Microsoft. And so once you become familiar with how to use OpenAI, you can also utilize a lot of Microsoft tools within your ChatGPT app. And alternatively, you can use, when you're utilizing Microsoft Suite, you can utilize a lot of ChatGPT application tooling as well. But the reason that it's so good at communication is that it's a language model. These models are trained on how to understand language by reading huge volumes of text. And so one idea that I had when I was looking at Andrew's description of the university, of Small Business Pro University, is the course that he has on bilingual training in terms of learning Spanish for business. And that would, an app like ChatGPT, you have to think of it as your personal assistant. Once you begin to think of it as your personal assistant and not just a tool that you use to get quick answers to very, not very deep questions, which it's good at, it's great at that. But once you begin to really think of it as, this is an assistant of mine, and you can think of it as a translator in a way. There are translation apps, but there are situations you can use ChatGPT. So let's say you needed to sign a contract, and you had a business where you were going to get a supplier that was, a lot of their contracting was in Spanish. Well, now you can upload, there's a feature in ChatGPT where you can upload those documents and translate everything from Spanish to English. And then you can go ahead, make whatever adjustments you need in English, and it'll translate it back into Spanish. So that covers the communication part of the revenue and communication and marketing triad.
Okay, excellent. So now you said a very scary word to many people. You said prompt engineering, and we're going to be talking about prompt engineering, but we promise no calculus, no physics, nothing that you can't do with where you are right now, correct?
Right, yes.
Okay, excellent. So just to start out, we got some great questions in the chat. So I want to start with this one because I think this is where we were going anyways. So if you pull this up, question, what is the first task a beginner should try in AI for their business?
Okay. So I'll walk you through. I think the first task is a sales prompt. Okay. And so what you're going to do is you're going to prompt your ChatGPT with these exact words. So you're going to say, you are a sales copywriter for a local, and then you put in that blank space your type of business. Okay. So you are a sales copywriter for a local plumbing company or a local accounting company, a local consulting company. So the next prompt is, my ideal customer is, and that blank, you enter your ideal customer in one line. Next, you write a short, friendly outreach email. And then in parentheses, under 150 words, inviting them to, and then in that blank, you enter your call to action. Example, you could say, write a short, friendly outreach email under 150 words, inviting them to, quote, book a free 15-minute consultation. Or reply to this email to schedule a quote.
Okay, excellent. So really, instead of programming, you're really just talking, or sharing in common language, but more details, or I guess the more details, the better.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, Andrew. It is programming. And there's a professor who teaches programming. He's been teaching programming his entire career, but now he teaches predominantly how to program with ChatGPT, because instead of using code, you're using natural language.
Okay, and it's sort of gone full circle. This will give an idea how old I am, but when I was in high school, I learned how to program COBOL. What was it? Not C, but the language before C.
Fortran.
Well, not Fortran, but
Pascal.
And then BASIC. And BASIC was, really simplified programming. And then it's gotten a lot more complex over the years. You got C+, you got, all kinds of new languages, and that were more and more complex. And then now it's become much easier again.
Yeah, that's great that you mentioned that. So in fact, my mother tells me stories about how she learned to program on punch cards with mainframe computers. But so the difference, I think, with punch cards, that was like a really low level programming language, and then it got high level, like you said. BASIC was, I think, one of the most easy high level languages, and then you had object oriented languages, but then, like you mentioned, it's come around full circle. And this is really a phenomenon that is, I think, what people have described it as is the democratization of computing. Or the democratization of computer science. Where before you would have to learn, even if you didn't program in Fortran and Pascal and basic. Even if you were getting just a computer science degree, you would still have to be familiar with those languages. And then you might learn the languages that you use more often, C, C++, Fortran, of course, Python. But, it kept people out, like regular people, and particularly business people, who, small business owners who have to execute at the high level, but they also have to have face time with their customers, and they have so many different responsibilities. What kind of time would they have to, program a computer? And what makes this such an excellent tool is that, now it's the power behind a computer has been given to the small business owner. No matter what time you have or don't have, all you need is a few minutes, and to do it consistently. If you put aside a time a day when you say, okay, I'm going to work on my sales prompts this morning, every day for 15 minutes or 10 minutes even. You might do a marketing prompt, certain days of the week, and then you might do your communication prompts the other 1 or 2 days. So as long as you're consistent, you can really get a lot done, because you don't have to worry about the interface. The interface is that programming language. Now, in natural language, just like I'm talking to you, I can explain, and the engineering is the same as speaking. I have to kind of engineer maybe the way that I'm going to try to explain to a small business owner how to use ChatGPT differently than I would to maybe someone in my class who doesn't happen to own a small business and is maybe just taking a college course. I have a student, in fact, who they haven't even graduated high school. They're like on the fast track, and they're taking college courses along with their high school courses. And so I have to be able to engineer the way that I teach everywhere, along the whole spectrum, from this student who's in high school still to a general, who's in charge of a division, and not only is in charge of division, but they also have maybe a consulting practice, and they want to know, because their time is short. They want to know, or their time is constrained. They want to know how they can apply ChatGPT, to improve their outreach, their communication efforts.
Okay, great. Now this is great, because we're learning at a high level, theory and perspective, but also now we're also talking about the nuts and bolts of using it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this question, I'm not going to try and pronounce your name, at Maka D4K. Great question. How can small businesses start using ChatGPT today? So
Okay.
you talked a little bit about communication, but say you're a business, you haven't used ChatGPT before. What are some of the first things we should do?
Okay. The first thing you want to do is go to OpenAI. You can just type in your search openai.com, or more directly, you can type into your search bar ChatGPT, and it'll take you to the page where you can open an account. And you want to start probably with the free account, so that you can get used to how ChatGPT works. But then as you become more familiar with the tool, you'll want to get a subscription, because when you get a subscription, it opens up to you the real breadth of the selection of tools that ChatGPT offers. And those tools are the ones that are going to really help you to exponentially increase your revenues, your communication, and your marketing. because it includes deep research. And a deep research is a way that this tool, if you type into the tool, how can I market my product in this particular region, and then you put into the prompt the region that you're interested in, say it's the Southeast United States, to a particular demographic. It could be men or women of a particular age, and maybe even who tend to work in these particular industries. And it will go throughout the entire internet, and it'll look at every type of resource available. It will look at journal articles. It'll look at newspaper articles, magazine articles, industry white papers. Also, it'll look at, depending on the level of your inquiry or your prompt, it can also look at social media, which is really excellent, because that's one way that you can keep your pulse on potential customers, to see what people are talking about. If it's a particular product, you might ask for, the public opinion on this particular product in this region, in social media, on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And it'll bring you back all of that information. It'll tell you in text, but it'll also give you statistics. And once it gives you an overview, what it'll do is it'll create a report. It creates a research report. And the brilliant thing about deep research within ChatGPT is that it creates the research report, and it includes references to all of the sources that it used. So you can go back and you can dig deeper. If you find, okay, in this particular region, these products, this particular demographic really has demand for my product. Let me find out more about that. Who are my competitors in that market? And then you can get addresses, names of people, how much market share they have. It's just a really excellent and very quick way. It does this in like 4 or 5 minutes sometimes. But that's just a tool that you have to pay for. The free tool still gives you a lot of information. So, for example, I won't get into it yet. I'll wait for Andrew, but I will give you another prompt for how to market.
You want to? Okay. Well, before we do that, couple things. You said one word that I think we should define and talk about. I still can't figure out how to pronounce it right, but you said the democratization of of programming. And we actually had a show a few weeks ago where we talked about the democratization of coaching because of AI. But what does democratization mean? Because it's a big word, and not everybody knows what it means.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So democratization is the making of a process or a product or an idea available to as many people as possible, with as few impediments or with as few obstacles to people accessing those products or services or ideas, or even a system of governance. So the difference between, let's say I wanted to create a marketing plan as a small business, and I used to work in a targeted marketing department for a large corporation, and in our department we had about 10 people, and this was just the targeted marketing. So it just was was just targeted towards a particular segment of the population. But we had a larger marketing department that had many more people. And so we would work on marketing plans, and it would take weeks sometimes to figure out, how a product should be packaged, how what would be the demand for the product, where in the country would the demand, from where in the country would the demand come, how we can create commercials for the product, and how we can tie that particular product in with the media that we were trying to sell, because it was a media company, but we would often tie in promotional items with those. Let's say it was a particular program, we would tie in, a promotional item, and we'd have to do market research on all of that. And it would take, it was common for it to take weeks. But with ChatGPT, I can enter all of that same information I just told you, and I'm going to give you a fail-proof pattern to use every single time you create a prompt to get the type of answer you want. But if I use this pattern, and I'll tell you now, it's called RCTFC. Okay, so the first part of the prompt, you're going to give your ChatGPT a role. Okay, so if I want to do a marketing campaign, the role I might give the agent is, I'm going to say, you are a targeted marketing expert in media, targeting young urban cable subscribers. Okay, so that's the role. So now my ChatGPT, instead of just being a general ChatGPT that does anything for anybody, now it has a particular role. And that's the key to using ChatGPT. You can't think of it as just like, oh, I'm just going to ask a question like, how can I get the best pasta sauce at the store, at the best price. These are general questions people use it for. But if you give it a specific role, how can I cook, like Emeril Lagasse? Well, now it knows exactly what to think. It's like, okay, now I have to think of like one of the best chefs, who makes his own. And so that's the role. That's the first thing you have to do. And then the next thing is context. Okay, so that's the C, RC. Context is, okay, you are a targeted marketing specialist. You're going to create a campaign targeting young urban professionals who are subscribers to cable. Okay, now the context is you are going to design, this campaign is designed around a mini series, and the mini series is going to be 5 episodes, 3 to 5 episodes of the most successful young entrepreneur that came out of the similar situation. He or she grew up in the in an urban environment, and they were a young professional, and they decided to produce maybe a cable a program or something. So it's a program about someone that's a producer. And so now the GPT has context. It says, okay, I'm a targeted marketing expert, marketing to these young urban professionals about a young entrepreneur that became very successful in a similar situation as theirs. Then you give it a task. You say, okay, you're going to create commercials, 30-second commercials that are going to be placed within our late night talk show, and that's going to run for 2 weeks. So it should be the first 3 days of the week. It'll be one particular 30-second commercial. The next 3 days, it'll be, Thursday and Friday, it'll be a different 30-second commercial going into Monday. And then say Tuesday through Friday, on that same late night show, we're going to have a different commercial. So, and within 2 weeks, the task is for you to create 3 really compelling 30-second commercials that within 2 weeks drives as much traffic to this mini series that follows in the third week as possible. And so then you have to think of a format. So you have your role, you give the ChatGPT a role, you give it a context, you give it a task, then you give it a format. You say, what I want you to do is give me the marketing plan in a page of text and give me an executive summary. Then give me more detail, about 3 pages of detail, and then give me a slide deck, a PowerPoint slide deck of 8 to 10 slides that I can present at a meeting. So that's your format. So you have your role, your context, your task, your format, and then last you have constraints. So you have to tell your ChatGPT what it can do and what it can't do. So you can say, okay, what you can do is, focus on particular wording. It should be professional but edgy. It should be urbane but not too highbrow. It should be serious but interjected with humor. Interjected with some type of fun. And it, above all, should be engaging. But then the constraints can be: don't be boring. Don't interject anything that detracts from the focus of this, driving people to this mini series. And above all, don't do anything that allows people to leave the screen. You want to keep them there throughout the whole campaign, right? So that's RCTFC. Okay, that's your formula on how to use ChatGPT. You can use it every single time in any situation, and you'll get good results.
Oh, that's amazing. I've never heard it explained so thoroughly and simply. And I've heard different pieces of this, but I've never heard it all together. And, I think that, I can see how that, really helps make sure that you're going to get you're going to really get the best result possible. So, and, like you said, it's prompt engineering, but no calculus, no physics, just answer them some questions that you can answer yourself. So no, I think that's powerful. I want to take a sec to, share. Many of you know that, one of my recent books is called the Masterpreneur Playbook, and it really outlines the 5 key steps to go from startup to scaling your business. So, there's 5 key steps, and then there's 5 levels of evolution that you as a business owner have to go through. And what we recently did was we created the Masterpreneur Growth Assessment. And that's an assessment. By taking 15 minutes on the assessment, it can really outline what step you're on, what you should focus on, what your strengths are, what your opportunities for improvement, and where you should be going next. So definitely, encourage you to take advantage of it. And I think I just have like a real short video about it. Most businesses are not growing, and the owner is not making enough money. Unfortunately, if you're not growing, you're dying. If you don't know what's preventing you from growing, what you need to do next, or how best to move forward, you will not grow. Where should you start? Challenge yourself. Take our Masterpreneur Growth Assessment to understand which stage your business is in. Know what's needed to get to the next stage, and how you'll need to evolve to lead your organization more successfully. Masterpreneur Growth Assessment will determine the next step and outline the journey that you'll need to take to achieve the growth faster and easier. Okay, excellent. So putting a link in the chat. So if you want to check it out, learn a little bit about it. It's a powerful tool, and there's not really anything like that out there. And this wouldn't have been possible without AI, because there's over 50 different degrees of freedom or different scenarios that a business can have based on their results from the Masterpreneur assessment. So, it's got a tremendous level of knowledge and insight behind it that, came from me, but ChatGPT allowed me to expand upon it and really formalize it much faster. So definitely you can do things that you couldn't do before. There's no way I could have done all that in a reasonable time period. So so that's cool. So we've got some additional questions. Also, time is always against us because there's just never enough time to talk about this stuff. But I think that a lot of gems have been shared. But let me just look through the questions real quick. Unfortunately, we can't get to everybody, but I think we touched upon this one. How do you recommend using AI for better client emails? So you have an example of this. We talked about where to start. We talked about that, you don't have to be techie. But anything else you think would be good for someone looking to create a marketing plan using ChatGPT?
Yes, Andrew. I'll give you another prompt. Okay, so you'll prompt these exact words. We help, and then enter who, get, and then enter result, without, and then enter the big hassle. Okay, so what you're trying to do with that prompt is you're explaining to ChatGPT who it is that we serve, who we help, who, and then you write in who you help. Okay, and then to get what result, we help who get this particular result. And so, for example, Andrew could type in, we help small business owners get better revenues, and the big hassle might be extra, like extraneous, too much research, or too much time, or too many hassles. So that is the hassle. We help small business owners get better revenues without the time, energy, and money most people spend. Okay, so you can write, another example is, you can write, you are a marketing copywriter. So that's the role for ChatGPT. You are a marketing copywriter. Then you use this position statement. We help, Andrew, he would say, small business owners get better revenues without high research costs. Then you write a homepage headline. You tell ChatGPT, write a homepage headline and subheadline. Okay, so that's the task. Next, write 3 bullet points for why choose us section. All right, so that's the format. And then write a short about paragraph, no more than 120 words in plain language. And those are your constraints.
Excellent. And what I might even say as a precursor to that, especially if you're starting your business, you might even want to say, my product or service is this and my business is this. Who are the most likely customers for me? So you can start to identify that target market, because you might not know that coming in.
Yes.
And once you have those, you could say, all right, well, what are their pain points? So that you can, so you can even get the info for the prompts for the next step prior to it, so you don't even have to come up with it yourself. You can so using tools like this, it's amazing how much you can do in a short period of time, and it's right there in front of you. So no, this has been amazing. I've learned a lot. I'm sure everybody else has learned a lot. Definitely appreciate everybody's questions, everybody's comments. Make sure to like, because this is a tremendous show. So make sure to like the episode. Before I let Dayn go, though, we need to just have you give us 3 key takeaways from what we talked about today, because we talked about a whole bunch of stuff, and many times people can't remember more than 3 things. So good to sort of sum it up with 3 things that you should take and you can utilize tomorrow to help you move your business forward faster and easier. So I'm going to take a minute, give you a minute to think about it, and we have a video about our bookkeeping services that we've added this year, which has helped a lot of business owners be more successful. And then we'll have Dayn come back and share the 3 key takeaways. You risk cash flow, tax, and profitability issues without timely, accurate financial records. Unfortunately, most business owners are not happy with their current bookkeeping situation.
Actually, our bookkeeper kind of left us. He actually got a job.
Many struggle with it themselves or have trouble finding the right help at a reasonable price. Even if you have a bookkeeper, there are often inaccuracies that can cost you money due to their lack of accounting knowledge and experience.
We had a lot of missing holes in our reporting. Things was a little hard to keep track of.
Fortunately, it doesn't have to be that way. That's why I incorporated small business-friendly bookkeeping into our service offerings.
Working with Andrew and Small Business Pro University was a very easy process. They really understood our numbers and our data very quickly and what needed to happen.
We meet you where you are, whether you want to switch to save money or need us to clean up past issues.
Since working with you, we've definitely been able to catch up on a lot of those missing holes and fill those gaps. So from a business standpoint, I'm able to understand my numbers a lot better.
Bringing everything current for tax and compliance purposes.
Along came Andrew Frazier. In a short period of time, they got us up to date, and now we're fine, and they're handling our bookkeeping.
Use the link below to schedule a complimentary discovery session to explore how we can help. www.sbprou.com/discovery. You have everything to gain and nothing to lose by scheduling a complimentary discovery session to explore how we can help at www.sbprou.com/discovery. All right. Welcome back to Leadership Live at 8:05. I'm here with Dayn Kirksey, and we're talking small business. Tonight's topic is ChatGPT for small businesses. Sell more, market smarter, and communicate better. We've had a great show. We talked about a lot of great things, but what are the 3 key things that people should take away from tonight's discussion?
Yeah, 3 key things, Andrew. I'd say the first one is remember RCTFC. RCTFC. R is for role. Okay, so you want to know what your ChatGPT is doing. You say you are a marketing specialist or marketing manager, or you are a sales expert, or you are a business communications coach. Next is context. You have to tell it what is the context that you're working in. So you're a communications coach that is helping me to communicate to a TEDx audience. The next is task. You have to give it a task to say, you're going to help me to create presentation notes. Then the format. So these presentation notes are going to be in the form of 3x5 cards that I can practice over the next week. And then constraints. What you do want to do is focus on their target audience and address them. And you want to address their pain points. And what you don't want to do is go over time. You have a certain amount of time that you have to present. So RCTFC, role, context, task, format, and constraints. The second thing is, if you decide to buy a subscription with ChatGPT, one of the products that you get is deep research. And that's a way that you can allow that tool to create reports for you, industry level reports that are very well substantiated by sources that are cited within that report, and will do a deep dive into the questions that you have, whether it's marketing, increasing revenue and sales, or enhancing your communications. And then I think third was perfectly presented by Andrew in terms of if you're just starting your business, knowing who is my potential audience, and importantly, knowing what are their pain points, so that you can ask ChatGPT, what is my potential audience? What are their pain points? And how can I alleviate that pain?
Excellent. So no, definitely. I love the RCTFC. You know, looking at the role, the context, the task, the format, and the constraints to really well define, you know, what you're asking for, and to make it so much easier for it to give you the best result possible. You know, definitely deep research. You know, a lot of time, you know, that, you know, there's different levels within ChatGPT and you know, some things, you know, to get it done right, you may need, you know, a little bit more focus on it from the AI. So definitely. And then, you know, market research. You know, most small business owners, the market research they do, if they do any, is very limited. But and like you said, you know, you as a small business, you couldn't afford to do it. You know, you had big companies spending, you know, the huge amounts of money on it, and now ChatGPT can do that in 5 minutes. You know, it's so, you know, market research is key to being able to sell more and market better. So take advantage of it. You know, it's right there at your fingertips. So thanks again, Dayn. You know, this has been tremendous. You know, I appreciate you joining us, sharing your knowledge and expertise. You know, anything you want to share before we close out?
Yeah, Andrew, I really appreciate this opportunity. This has been great. I really learned a lot, and I appreciate the time that your audience spent with me today. And I hope I was able to actually contribute as much as you've expected of me.
Okay, excellent. No, definitely. This has been tremendous. And you know, Dayn's LinkedIn profile is in the chat. So if you want to reach out to him and discuss this further, you know, on a surface level, or if you really want to get into the weeds with them, he can go as deep as you're willing to go. So definitely feel free to reach out to him and connect with him on LinkedIn. So thanks a lot, Dayn. Hang on while I close things out, and we'll catch up in a bit. All right. So definitely want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your questions. You know, we had another great show, and you know, hopefully you learned a lot. I did. And you know, as we go forward, you know, each week we have, you know, great guests and great topics. As you know, we've been doing this for more than 5 years now, more than 250 episodes, and just such tremendous depth of knowledge that's been shared through the show. So you know, next week, you know, looking forward to next week's show as well, because it's, you know, one of my favorite things, you know, hidden profits. You know, a lot of business owners sell a lot, but then their expenses are a lot. So, finding hidden profits. There's usually a lot of opportunities for that. And, our guest is Stacy Highland, and really look forward to chatting with her about that because definitely, anyone out there wish they had less profits? Probably not. So, if we can help find some hidden ones for you, that could be, I'm sure you'd be happy about that. So hopefully you'll join us next week. And, at the end of the day, the more that you know, the faster and more successful your business is going to grow. Okay. Hey, entrepreneurs and business owners, Andrew Frazier here, and I'm very excited to invite you to the very first Masterpreneur Breakfast in its new format. If you love the Power Breakfast, this is the upgraded version. Sharper insights, higher level discussions, and a room full of owners serious about scaling.